Let's see here. All right, it looks like we're going. Now, give me a second here. Hi, folks. Steven here. So, we are going to be talking about, let's see here. This will only be slightly weird here and delayed. So, I finally figured out, let's see here. Give me a second. Quality. We're going to turn that all the way down to 144. So, what I figured out here is I've done these live streams before, and the problem is I have this thing called group chat in Google Hangouts. That is not the actual YouTube chat, as it turns out, it seems. Let's see. Yep. So I'm going to set my phone on the side over there, and hopefully this works out. I'm hoping I can find a better system in the future, but you should be able for me to actually see the actual chat comments you're putting in this time. So hopefully we have that ironed out. In any case, what this stream is actually about is my time this weekend over at Wizard World Comic-Con Madison 2018. So full disclosure, I was given a press pass for this one, which means I didn't have to pay for like actual regular admission for this one. I just kind of realized that actually the fact that I'm watching this on my phone, I can't think of a better way to do this, means that I guess I'm going to get counted for this. But oh well, not much else I can do, it seems. Like I said, try to find a better way. But anyway, that means I didn't have to pay admission. There were side events, or I should say side panels and stuff like that that did have an extra fee. I didn't end up going to any of those because kind of the one I wanted to didn't quite work out. But just for full disclosure there, I guess you could say I got some sort of compensation for this, but like I said, they aren't paying me directly for any of this coverage and things I'll be uploading over the next week or so. But anyway, so just to point out a few quick things, the term Comic-Con is sort of a generic term. Let's see, actually, if I pause the video, I think the chat still keeps going, I hope. Anywho, but it's sort of a generic. You've heard of San Diego Comic-Con. That's no way related to this organization. The term Comic-Con by itself is, I guess, generic, and Wizard World runs a series of events they call Comic-Con, but the full official name is Wizard World Comic-Con, and that's what shows their ownership of this series of events. I forget how many they actually run. The nearest one from here, I think, is in Chicago. They run like 15 or maybe 20 each year across the United States. They've been running the one in Madison. I believe they said this is their 4th year in running that. All right. But let's see, what else have we got? So I actually found out about this a ways back as far as the event series. I actually looked into doing some coverage a couple years ago. They were going to have Billie Piper, who obviously these days is much more well known for her work on Doctor Who. But those of you in the Pokemon fandom will know that, hey, she used to be a singer, and she had a song on the soundtrack to Pokemon, the first movie. And indeed, that is the case. Now, unfortunately, a few things went wrong. One, not all the guests at these events are available for interviews. There are some certain restrictions on that. Second, it seems like Billie doesn't really give interviews just kind of in general. I think she had a bad one. And third, sort of the nail in the coffin was that she ended up having to cancel on that one, which sometimes happens because I think she had a scheduling conflict come up with a TV show or movie she was starring in. Okay, so if you have any questions about the event, go ahead, type those in the comments. If you're watching this archived, of course, you can put a comment on this video. And I think that's going to sort of cover things for the base of it. So what are we going to talk about here? We're going to talk about what I did there, what my experience was, the venue and stuff. And at the end of this thing, I picked up one of these mystery boxes, and I think we're going to take a look at what's in there. I'll also give my usual update on what's going on with the channel and what you can expect in the next few weeks there. But anyway, this event was at the, let's see, Dane County Expo Complex. So I think you've seen me cover Pokemon Regionals. That's generally been at the Manila Terrace Convention Center, which is in downtown Madison. This one is a little ways from downtown. It's just off of what we call the Beltline here in Madison, one of the major highways. And it has an arena, which is used for various types of shows. It also has a convention hall or two. Excuse me. I'd say the convention hall has maybe a little more space than, say, the convention hall spacing in the Monona Terrace Center. But the Dane County Expo complex, I guess you could call it, is a fair bit older than Monona Terrace. But in any case, that's where it was. So let's see. I went there on Friday because I had to do that to get to one of the interviews I wanted. One of the Pokemon related people they had there was Erica Schroeder, who was, let's see, she's a voice actor. She started kind of late in the 4Kids era. She replaced, I think it's Megan Hollingshead as the voice of Nurse Joy for the last 2 or 3 seasons of the 4Kids dub, and eventually transitioned over to the TPCI dub, where she still works today. One of the things I was really glad to find out is that she did the singing voice of Meloetta. Meloetta is kind of a weird character voice-wise in the dub because they usually use for her actual speaking, she doesn't really speak in English, but you get the idea. Non-singing, they use the Japanese voice actor. But as I've sometimes pointed out during my discussions with Anne and in other places on this channel, doing voices or singing voices, singers are hard to get cleared across countries, which is kind of unfortunate. So what they ended up doing is that Erica ended up doing all her singing parts. And we sort of talked about that. And that interview will hopefully be going up relatively within the next week or so. I've got a lot to work on, which I'll sort of explain at the end of this session. Let's see what else we got. So that was her. I also interviewed, the press guy for the event, who was a very nice man. Jerry is his name, if I remember correctly. He seemed to, there are always challenges with these things. I know they had some trouble with some of the celebrities arriving late because of delayed flights. Wasn't as difficult to say. I do remember a year or two ago at Anime Milwaukee, there was a big storm that week that hit the West Coast. So a lot of the folks coming from LA had a lot of problems there. But eventually everyone did get there. Some of the other non-Pokemon, I guess you could say top-level guests they had there. They had Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek, as well as William Shatner. And let's see, they had Dean Cain from The New Adventures of Superman. I didn't do anything in that area, but I do remember that show growing up. A couple folks from Charmed. They had, oh gosh, I cannot remember his name. I'm so sorry about this. But the guy who played Neville Longbottom in the Harry Potter movies was one of the other guests. And the way it basically works is that they have a thing where you can get an autograph. You can also do a photo op. These things cost money, of course. And, that's sort of the balancing act. But some of them also do panels and stuff like that while they're there. And on top of the celebrities, they have a lot of vendors on there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But let's see, the other folks, the other main person I was interested in was RealBreakingNate. We did an interview yesterday that I will be editing together, and again, within the next week or two, hope to get up on the channel. And he's a Pokemon YouTuber you may well have heard of. He's very prolific. He does it basically as a living, although he has some side things, like, for example, here at Wizard World Comic-Con Madison, as he does, I guess, at some of their other events, he moderates panels and helps, handle celebrities, I guess, in some cases or stuff like that. So that's one of his other parts of his career. I think I must have seen him at Midwest Regionals either this year or last year or something like that, because I actually did have his business card, and he did recognize me a little bit. So that was kind of nice, and we got some good stuff there. So those were kind of the interviews. As far as other stuff I did do a little bit of shopping. Let's see. Unfortunately, it's kind of on the other side of the room here, and I'm not going to go up and get it just now, but they had a lot of comic book vendors, as the name would kind of imply. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what all they had. Let's see. They had, they had a lot of them. It was one problem I kind of had. I was actually specifically looking for, hoping to find some of the Nintendo comic system. I actually saw a video. I remember them growing up. The Nintendo comic system, for those of you who don't know, is this series of comic books from like 1990, 1991. I don't think they lasted too much longer after that. They were based on various Nintendo properties, notably Mario. There was also a Captain N series, Legend of Zelda series. Like they did some one-offs on some of the other smaller franchises like Metroid or Punch-Out. They even had like a Game Boy line of comics that went on for a little bit, and I think mostly covered Super Mario Land. But this was done by Valiant Comics, which I guess is still around. I do recall that there was like an episode of Reading Rainbow where they go over to the company and talk to some of it. So that's a thing you can look out for there, I suppose. But I didn't find anything. I did find some places that had their comics separate well after they had some of their Valiant stuff like in a separate box from like, obviously the two big players in comics are DC and Marvel. But in this case, unfortunately, I think I have a kind of an idea. First of all, these are highly sought after. Two, they were bought by younger kids who probably didn't take real good care of those comic books. So there aren't a ton of them left to go around, kind of unfortunately. And things like that. So that was kind of I guess, one reason I didn't find that. I did manage to pick up, though, a Chippendale Rescue Rangers comic book. But I think I'm going to display in my office. It only cost me about $5. So I wasn't going to spend a ton of money to display something like that in my office or anything like that. But so I did get something out of there. I did sort of browse some of the other vendors. Not sure if I picked up. I did pick up, besides this little surprise box. I'm not sure how much else I picked up. And like I said, if you have any comments, I think we are correctly equipped to handle those. Go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'll try and answer them about the event or any questions you might have in that area. Anyway, so let's see what else happened in there. So that was kind of the extent of my shopping. I did look around a fair bit. I was a little disappointed. This is another convention where I haven't found much in the way of video games. There was one person, at least, who was selling video games, but these were VGA graded video games. So, there's a grading system for comic books, cards. There's one for video games. It's a little bit disputed as to how authoritative they are. But I obviously wasn't going to buy one of those, even if I really wanted to play the game, because that would kind of defeat the purpose. I think I'm going to have to try to make it out next year to the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee if I want to do that. That really seems to, I guess, attract a lot of the gaming sales attention. I know this is a comic book convention. I've talked about this when I've gone to anime conventions. But the overlap, in years past, I have had not as much trouble finding that. And I really do encourage, if you're going to run something at a video game or at an anime or comic book convention, you might want to consider there's a pretty good overlap there. I've asked a few conventions, and they don't seem to have any policy against it. But they just have not been able to find much there, which is really disappointing. So, let's see. And so that was the extent. I mean, I did buy some food while I was there. Convention center food. Overpriced is thrown around there. It's not cheap. I'll give it that. Let's see. What else? So, I also went to some panels. One I didn't get to go to because it was right at the beginning on Friday night was one by RealBreakingNate. He did a Learn to Play the Pokemon TCG panel. I talked to him about that. I don't want to spoil too much. It seems like it went relatively well. Excuse me. And worked out well for him. Let me see. Okay. So I'm not sure about these comments thing. Never mind. Anyway, like I said, just try to type in a comment in there and let me know if I'm coming through okay. Anyway, so let's see. What comes after? Let's see. There's also, Erica was supposed to run a voice acting coach panel. This is one of the ones that requires an extra fee. So did the TCG one, but that was like $5. This was going to be like, I think $75, $65 or $75. Not cheap, but to be taught voice acting is always a little bit of a thing there, and I can see them charge for it. However, it was canceled due to, I'm not sure, I wasn't given a precise reason why it was canceled. I'm guessing something logistically came up. I think for around the same time, they did a women of voice acting panel that was actually free to go to. It was her, let's see, something Newark was one of the other voice actors, and I think there was one other one. And they did this panel together and talked about sort of their career. They sort of remarked about how it's some ways it's easier for women to get into voice acting than it is to stage acting or TV or movie acting, just because there are more roles available to women there, because they can do, for example, young boys and stuff like that. They can do the voices of those often, as they often do. Let's see. So that was kind of fun, and they talked about various voice acting. Let's see, some other panels I went to. There was a podcasting panel I went to sort of, I like to see panels on production type stuff. There was one on, I got to see the very end of one on YouTube. And I also got to see a cosplay photography panel that a guy did. He does things a little different. He's more of a professional / quasi-professional cosplay photographer. So his advice was geared there. I sort of asked him, well, like, what about someone like me? I do cosplayer interviews, so there's a little bit of overlap, but it is a little different because I have to take close-up shots of certain parts of the costume or props or whatever to give a better idea of how they were constructed. And he had some advice there about trying and make use of depth of field and things like that. I learned a little bits and pieces, so it was worth something to me, even though it wasn't directly what I was looking at. Let's see. Aside from that, I ended up going to, because I was trying to. So the quote unquote, and apologies to people like RealBreakingNate, but the big celebrity guests, they had their own schedule, and they were only available for interviews on Friday. They sort of explained to me, the press folks, that I was kind of on my own for getting an interview with Nate, and so I ended up tracking him down after. Let's see, last night he did a Nerd Off panel where they would take two people from the audience and have them debate a certain issue, like. Well, let's see. One was BB-8 versus R2-D2, and then they had the classic one, Gandalf versus Dumbledore. And they brought some people. There was a very brave kid for doing the Dumbledore side on that one to come up in front of an audience. I remember being a little kid and being in costume at Star Trek conventions, and we went into a costume contest. The Klingons would always win those, at least until people started dressing up as Borg. But they would... But he was, and I remember some of the sort of stage fright you would get from that. And in that one, I actually had my sister up with me, who was also in costume. But this guy went up basically by himself. So kudos to that kid. I mean, I hope you maybe want to get into other public speaking or stage type stuff. I think you might be cut out for that. But after that, we had enough time to squeeze in my interview with Nate, which, like I said, I hope to get within the next week or two. Let's see. Aside from those, like I said, if you have any comments, go ahead and type those into the chat. I will try and answer those. Any questions about these types of conventions and stuff like that, I can try and answer those. Or, if they need follow-up, I can try to pass those. I'm still in contact with the Wizard World folks. They do want to be notified when I put these things up. So if I have questions there, I can try and pass those along as well. Let's see. And that covers, I think, a good part of my time. Now, one really, I don't know, kind of strange thing I did Saturday morning, is I didn't have anything super urgent I needed to get to. So I decided, not completely on a whim, but I guess this is the PSA portion of this live stream, is that I actually went over to, the West Side Red Cross building here in Madison and gave blood. My sister let me know that apparently she found from sources there's always some sort of deficiency in the blood supply in terms of various types. But she let me know and kind of pressured me, and I haven't given blood since college. But I decided to do it yesterday morning, in part because actually they gave you a sticker for that. They actually kind of put me down as a new donor because it had been so long since I had done that. But I got to wear that to the convention and sort of raise awareness. So I guess I just wanted to throw that in there as kind of a funny little thing. Let's see. But I think that more or less sums it up. As far as whether I'll go again next year, it really depends who they have. I kind of wish I had gone last year because they got at the Madison event, they got Stan Lee, who of course recently passed away. And that would have been, I guess, my last chance to see him, even though I'm not a huge comic book fan. I do watch mostly actually the newer movies, but Um, he was a very prolific, and we're lucky we had him as long as we did. And I guess he's got a few more cameos taped for upcoming movies. But yeah, as far as next year, it's going to depend who they get. I mean, the main reason I came around this time is they had a Pokemon-related guest. That's a much safer thing at like an anime convention where they get lots of voice actors. Because with Pokemon being, in the U.S. for over 20 years now, 20 years this year, of course, there's so many people who have worked on Pokemon. So it's a pretty good bet that any decent-sized anime convention that has a decent number of voice actors, I'm going to find someone that I can try and get an interview with. And this one has, like I said, I struck out on Billy Piper a few years ago for various reasons. But we'll see what happens next year and see what that is. I might also go down to next time they do one in Chicago, since that's relatively close. But overall, I really enjoyed my time. Would have been fine if I were just a regular person paying my way in. I think I would have gotten a good value out of that, too. But if you have any questions, go ahead and give me a comment in the chat, or if you're watching this in archive, comment on the video. Now, I did mention I bought a little bit of stuff while I was there, and I did buy that Rescue Rangers comic book that I'm probably going to put up in my office at my day job. But I also bought one of these. Now, this is from a company called, I think it's called Toy. It's like Toynk, I think is what it is. I don't know if that's Toynk or Toynk or some other pronunciation. They have a large variety of these mystery boxes. I started out with one that was a question block from a well-known video game series, and they've expanded. They even had they had like a Bob Ross mystery box that you could buy. They had a Golden Girls one. They're actually working with some decent-sized companies. I think this Pokemon one is not directly sanctioned by the Pokemon Company, although hopefully the merchandise is. But they're actually, started putting these things together sort of on their own, and now they're getting some stuff. So that's a really kind of interesting one. I was disappointed, though. They have the Mixmaster one that looks like a retro like boombox or something like that. But they explained to me, no, it's not a bunch of like music merchandise or CDs or cassettes or vinyl records or anything like that. It's just a bunch of different areas of pop culture. That was a little disappointing to me when I asked them about that, because I really was hoping, actually, I kind of like to play grab bag with music sometimes. You can find some interesting things that way. But anyway, let's take a look and see what's inside, and then after that, we'll talk about what's going on with the channel. So let's see here. I have not looked in here since buying this yesterday, so I don't really know what's in here. But we're going to find out, aren't we? Let's see. It's also my first time buying, well, I guess one of these mystery boxes. Back in the day, I had there was a thing from our school book order that gave you like different books that you would get shipped to you every month. And I got a couple of like books from in the Clue, the Clue board game universe. I got a couple from there. I got some I think I got some Goosebumps stuff from that as well. So that was kind of interesting back when I was in I think late element, 5th grade maybe. But anyway, let's see what we got here. All right, so looks like I've got some sort of hat. Let's see. There's the opening thing on this. Into this little bag here. Let's see what we got. I don't think I'm going to buy these all the time just because the things add up quickly. Let me see. Aha. Yeah, I kind of figured this was some sort of Pokemon League from the series hat. So now I have an Ash Ketchum, I guess, original series hat or something like that. Some sort. Let's see what else we got. So I got a little Pokeball lanyard, I guess. I'm not sure. Take a look there. Seems relatively well made. Let's see. It's kind of similar to some of the ones I do for like the passes at events and stuff like that. Let's see, it's a little nicer than those, I think. Let's see what else we got here. So let's see, I got a nice little writing utensil. This is a Bulbasaur pen. Let's see, if you look on the back there, they've got 5 different varieties, 3 starters from Kanto, Pikachu, and a Pokeball one. Find all 5 styles. I think I'll stick with one. Nothing personal. Let's see, this is some sort of plush figurine I've got. Oh, okay, this is a shoulder plush, I guess, of Pikachu. If you take a look on the back here, this looks like it must have been produced. Well, I'm not sure because it's got. Take a look on the back there. They've got Fennekin, Eevee, and Piplup. So it's at least from, let's see, X and Y. It's up to date with that. It's what's got Sylveon. So if you take a look at the ears they have in the bottom, and apparently you're supposed to like wear it on your shoulder with this little thing here. So we'll see how that works. Let's see. So I've got, let's see, this is interesting. This is like, it's a coffee mug, which is, I don't drink coffee. I'm actually, I think my preferences are caffeinated water, iced, or hot tea. Coffee, I was into briefly, but. So yeah, you put coffee in Pikachu's head, I guess. It's not electricity, it's caffeine. That's right. And let's see. Oh, I've got this. Let's see. Oh, phone went to sleep. That's the one problem. See, I realized, in case you didn't hear earlier, that the phone, the way that one works, or the way the chat works, is the group chat that I see on the Google Hangout is for the Google Hangout and anyone participating. And so I've just booted the video up. I've paused it, but I can still see the chat, I think. I haven't seen anyone post in yet, but we'll see what happens with that. In any case, we got this jumbo eraser. Let's see. So this is, oh, I see. I guess I have to open it up to see what this is. Well, let's see if I can. I kind of don't want to because I might want to give this away at my league or something like that, or for a tournament or something. Judging from the shape, I think this is something with a tail. So I'm guessing maybe it's... I won't, like I said, I want to give this away to someone, maybe at a tournament or something. Let's see, judging from the shape, this has got to be thrilling to you folks out there. Something with a tail, so I'm guessing, assuming these shapes match what's on there, well, it could be one of maybe half a dozen things. But that's kind of nice. So it's just kind of, you don't know what you get till you open it. But I think we're going to leave that for that. But the other ones I think I'll probably keep. I don't know if I'll be keeping Pikachu on my shoulder. I forget. I'm not even sure. I don't think I have a Pikachu in my office, so I might take the coffee mug. So overall, I ended up paying about $43 for this thing, for this box. And I guess I could use the box for storage or something. Not sure I'm going to keep buying these over and over again, but I think I got about what I wanted. I'm interested in trying some of the other ones. It does say, though, on this one, do not microwave. So if you have one of these things, you make sure the coffee is hot or the tea is hot or whatever you put in this before you put it in is apparently not for microwaving. Hand wash only. Okay, so good things to remember there. Safety tip, I guess, question mark. So I might just put this on there. A little Pikachu heavy, I would say. I don't know if I needed to have two different Pikachu things in this box. I'm not sure how they pack these together and whatnot. But overall, pretty happy. Might try a different one sometime. Not sure if I'm going to use the Ash Ketchum hat. Let's see. 100% polyester, made in China. All right. Well, so that sums up my time at Wizard World. There's a good chance I'll go again. If there are no particular guests, I might just go as a regular person there. If there's no one in particular I want to interview, you never know what you're going to get there. At least until they announce the guest for next year. We'll see how that one goes out. But as far as stuff for the channel, so upcoming things. Let's see. First off, I am still working on the Victini movies discussion. I've had it for a little while. I'm getting close to finishing the first part. I'm going to get that up, and then I'm going to probably get up something from one of my Wizard World interviews. I actually I think the first one I'm going to get up there is the one with Erica Schroeder, just because we talk about not only Meloetta, but also she has some important roles in the new Power of Us movie. So I definitely want to get that out while it's relatively hot there. And some of the, like I said, the other two interviews there. Let's see. I also should be doing an unboxing, not of one of these, but of the physical soundtrack to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So There's first of all, Pokemon themselves. I don't think I've put that out on social media, but on iTunes, if you look on there for $10, you can get the soundtrack to the new Pokemon games. Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. They put those out there, and I guess they'll probably put out a thing on that tomorrow. Yesterday was also the CDs released in Japan, and I should be getting those within the next few days here, and I'll have to shoot an unboxing video and stuff like that. I'm not sure precisely when I'm going to be able to get that up because of all the other stuff I'm working on, and to just kind of admit there it's not the highest priority. Let's see. And between that and the Wizard World stuff, so we're still looking for input on the Keldeo movie. We have not yet recorded. We might do it next weekend. Me and Ann might record the Keldeo movie stuff. Keep an eye on our social media, or at least on my social media, over the next week or so. To see if we're going to end up having time for that. And then not this upcoming weekend, but the weekend after that, the 15th and the 16th, I'm going to be in Anaheim at the regionals there in some capacity. I won't be playing in the main event, most likely. But looking forward to that. And so that's kind of what's coming up on the channel. I do hope eventually also, you may have noticed a few weeks ago, last month, I put out the parody Sai of Bye Bye Bye. I do plan eventually on recording a behind-the-scenes video, but as you can kind of guess, I've got a lot of stuff in the can that I need to put together, edit, and stuff like that. But appreciate your patience with all this. If you have any questions about Wizard World or stuff like that, go ahead and put it in a comment. Always looking forward to that. All right, folks, thanks.